Hello everybody, Mark here, also known as the Geo Scholar. When it comes to space flight, you have science, technology, engineering, mathematics. All of that is important when it comes to space flight. This is how astronauts are launched into space. This is how rockets are launched. There is another element that is very overlooked. That is geography. That is important as well. This video will expound upon how important geography is when it comes to spaceflight. We're going to start with Cape Canaveral. So many missions, the Apollo missions, the Challenger, so many missions that launched human beings into space and are continuing to launch spacecraft come out of the Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral area. It's actually on Merritt Island, but I'm going to go into that further. Why there? Why around Cape Canaveral? There are other places, but what makes Cape Canaveral so important? We're going to start with where Cape Canaveral is located.
Cape Canaveral is located on Florida's central Atlantic coast. Cape Canaveral Air Force Station was already a rocket launching site going back to the 1950s, and it would be here that the first American would be launched into space, as well as the first US-built Earth satellite. The Kennedy Space Center was built on nearby Merritt Island because more room would be needed to launch the Saturn V. The Saturn V is the rocket that landed the first astronauts on the moon.
Space for launching rockets is just one part of how geography plays into human spaceflight. There's another factor: location and the Earth's rotation. Well, make that two factors actually. As you can see in the earlier part of this video, the map showed you where Cape Canaveral is located. Now I'm going to show you where Florida is located in relation to the rest of the Earth.
That is the state of Florida. Cape Canaveral is somewhere around this area, around the Space Coast. That's where Florida is located. Now, why is this important? Because that's where the equator is located. I decided to film this part outdoors. Look at the moon. Look at the moon. How pretty. Decided to film it out here. More of a fitting way to do this. Again, that's Florida. That's the equator. This is important because the closer you are to the equator, the faster the rotation is around the Earth. And this is advantageous because when rockets are launched, it gives it a boost. It gives it a very advantageous boost. And then notice this. Notice the easterly rotation of the Earth. Notice how it turns. What you have here, when rockets are being launched from Florida, it is important that they launch this way. It's important they launch this way because, look, east of Florida is the Atlantic Ocean. And when you launch from here, if something were to ever happen, you know, there's some kind of error with the rocket or the spacecraft, you would actually need a place where it could land where there are no people around and it won't hurt other people with the landing debris. That is what is needed. Hence, Cape Canaveral, Florida made a very logical place to launch rockets and to build the Kennedy Space Center. It made sense to build it here because you're a lot further south than in most of the United States. And then you have to deal with the fact you've got the Earth's rotation. The further south you go, the faster the Earth's rotation. And then you have no population out here in the ocean nearby, so when the rockets are being launched in this direction, if something were to happen and the rocket had to land somewhere in the ocean, nobody gets hurt. And that is the geographic aspect.
You have several factors in space flight and how geography is a big role. You have the factor of, in the case of Cape Canaveral, you needed more room to launch rockets, so they had to build the Kennedy Space Center on Merritt Island. Therefore, you could build the Saturn V rocket, and you could build the other rockets for the Apollo program. No, correction, you could launch them from Merritt Island. And then you have to think about this. Being so far east in the US and being so far south, you have the advantages of if the rockets were to have a problem and something happened, it would land in the ocean. It wouldn't land in areas of high population density, or any population rather. And then you'd have the advantage of the Earth's rotation. The further south you go, the faster it is. And that's a big part of how geography is important in spaceflight. If you like this video, check out other videos on my channel. And as always, leave a comment, like, and subscribe.